Hi, I'm Chris. This is my essay, It's Through My Eyes. Growing up in the rough neighborhoods of Sacramento, I was always exposed to many different cultures and races fighting in a war with each other, most of them unique in their own ways. From their adapt cultures that label them different from each other always sparked my interest. I noticed very early that I was different from everybody else, see it as I grew up in a racially diverse neighborhood and went to a delinquent school. Being different really from everybody else definitely put me on the radar, putting me in situations that I otherwise would not want to be in, being exposed to many things that some people would never want to see in their entire life. It was normal. I'd always thought everyone was similar, surviving and battling because they were different, not realizing that they're similar culturally. Being the so-called nerdy white boy to the kids in my neighborhood, I was always picked on because of the color of my skin. The bullying was at its highest point when I was 7. The constant barrage of nonsense that was directed towards me became too much for me to handle anymore. When my father found out I was being bullied, he was furious and told me that I was no longer going to be picked on, and he signed me up for Chinese kickboxing. My sensei taught me not only how to defend myself in any physical situation, he taught me something that every child needs to have knowledge of, and that's discipline and how to show proper respect to someone. 3 years later, when I discovered Kung Fu, I did not know that I had already been exposed to the fundamentals of it already from Chinese kickboxing. Kung Fu is an ancient Chinese art of self-defense that involves strengthening of the mind before you even start the actual training process. Basically, resetting yourself and molding yourself into a new person with refined morals. The process beforehand had a huge impact on my life. This is the start of what made me the person I am now. This process was different from everything I've been taught. In my neighborhood, discipline was only shown from the people that had been in jail, or as they say, did time. The only form of discipline that I could truly say that I have would be all the things that are implanted in my head from growing up in the streets. All the things I was taught to avoid as I grew up, because as I grew up, things became natural. Just like a muscle memory because of the consistency of everything that was happening around me. So being taught and molded into being a new person and being able to control myself, let alone being able to control my anger and use its amazing power for good was an enormous challenge. A challenge that I was ready to accept at the time and I conquered in the end. Now at this point in my life, the diversity and the amount of cultures that I've already been exposed to is not compared when I had the opportunity to go to Thailand and train Muay Thai. It was indeed a tremendous honor, but it was a very difficult time, and what kept me going was my heartfelt dedication to my training. In Thailand, they don't tell Americans this, but their people hate us. And many times, being a different race didn't matter to me because I felt the people that I trained with had the same mindset and the same amount of respect for me as I did for them. But being culturally different was a slight problem, and I did receive some American stereotypes sometimes. They would often refer to our rich and fancy lifestyles and 90s pop stars just to get a laugh. After a year of intense and physical and mental training, I went back home in the United States to go back to school and live a normal life again. But when I got back, everything seemed to have changed, and I didn't understand what it was. Now, at this point in my life, I had a rough patch, and I would not prefer to talk about it right now in this rich narrative. But let's flash forward 3 years. It was my freshman year of high school when I discovered the world of mixed martial arts. And after competing for 5 years, I was one of those who has yet not to be defeated. I conquered the ranks of the bantamweight division of a big-name California fighting show, eventually becoming a world champion. This is probably one of the best moments in my life, and I've had some of the biggest challenges I've ever had to overcome to get to this point and be the person that I am now. Growing up on the streets has taught me a lot. It taught me responsibility at a young age and how to respect somebody, everyone, no matter what racial group they're a part of. I lived my life constantly being judged by my race, just like a lot of these people in the world. But together we can change and eliminate racism for good so that we can all be similar and tell our similar stories without prejudice as one.